Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Ostay, and welcome to the Slumber Party Book Club. I will be reading your books. I'll be reading your book tonight. Essentially, the Slumber Party Book Club is to, one, help you fall asleep before bed. You can either put this video on before you go to sleep to prepare whatever you're doing, just kind of relax and chill. Or you can put this on to actually go to sleep. I don't mind. And for the book club part, I will basically we can talk and have some discourse about how we're feeling about the characters in the book so far. You can drop those comments below, and we can just kind of have fun with it, really. So it's really both a slumber party and a book club. Sleep, some fall asleep, some stay for the entertainment. So here is the book right here. Tonight it is Like Mother, Like Daughter by Kimberly McCreight. I've read her books before, and specifically her chapters aren't like the chapter 1, 2, 3, etc. She goes by character, and I love that because you can kind of get everybody's perspective. And when I go on to the next chapter, I'll just put a little screen just saying the next person's name, just to indicate that it is the next chapter. Other than that, I believe we can go ahead and start. Quick question for you guys though. What are you drinking for your drinks? Like, what teas do you usually like to drink? I know I like chamomile. Chamomile tea is great. And then like sleepy time tea, amazing. I drink other teas too, but if you have like a favorite tea, comment below, just so we can all try different teas, you know? And now would be the time to get your melatonin, get your teas, do whatever else you do, and let's get down to business. Yes? Okay, here we go. Prologue. As soon as you begin to show, the lies start. They will be well-meaning, all of them. Friends, family, doctors, total strangers, pretty much anyone who spies your pregnant belly will tell you. Don't worry, you'll know what to do when the time comes. Don't worry, your maternal instincts will kick right in. Don't worry, your body will bounce right back. Don't worry, you're going to be an amazing mother. Don't worry, it's not as hard as it looks. Don't worry, being a mother is the most rewarding job in the world. Don't worry, you will love them more than you ever thought possible. The last one is true if dangerously oversimplified. It is indeed a ferocious love you feel the second you hold your child, hot and wriggling against your naked chest. You will die to protect that child. You suspect, uncomfortably, that you could also kill. You have never thought of yourself as this person before. Wild, animalistic. It will make you feel both powerful and afraid. This is your first true introduction to motherhood, this study in contradictions. And then there is the cost of this boundless love that no one warns you about. The worry and sleepless nights. The fear that they will get sick or grow up sad and be forever lonely. And that will be your fault. Or that someday they might stop returning your calls. After all, just because you love them without condition does not obligate them to love you back. Oh, and you'll get so much of it wrong. Partly because there is no right answer to any of it. And on the rare occasion when you do knock it out the park, that will only make you believe that other mothers must be doing it right all the time. You will commit to trying harder. You will try until your eyes burn and your arms ache, until your heart crumbles to dust. You will do whatever it takes, even when you don't know what that is, especially then. And get ready, because this will be your job forever. This fixing of everything, including the things that cannot be fixed, for as long as you both shall live. Leo, the day of. A brownstone looks beautiful, lit up a warm gold in the fading April light. Homey and pristine, park slope perfection. Thanks to my mom, of course. God forbid anything she ever does ever be less than perfect. Except here I am, frozen on the corner, half a block from the house where I grew up, consumed by dread. And this is not exactly a new feeling. I could turn around right now and get on the subway, head back to NYU, to that party in my dorm that will probably start soon. It will. But there was something about the way that my mom reached out this time. She insisted she needed to talk to me in person right now. That's not new. But then she said that she understood why I wouldn't want to come, that she was asking me, begging me to please come anyway. And she sounded so sincere. And that was new. Of course, it went downhill from there. In the past 24 hours, she'd fallen back on her tried and true method, brute force. Take the message I got on the train a little while ago. Are you on your way? Are you on the train? Are you almost here? Texting with my mom can be like facing a firing squad. A car horn blasts on Prospect Park West, and I dart across the street. At the top of the steps, I ring the bell and wait. If my mom is in her office at the back, she might not hear it. And of course, I've forgotten my keys. My phone buzzes in my hand, and my breath catches. Not sure what time yet. I check my phone, it's already 6:30. I'll text on my way back. We're hanging out, that's all. Hooking up. Simple. OFC, he replies after a beat. And there is the flutter in my chest again. Okay, so maybe it is a little more than hooking up. I ring the bell again and again. Still nothing. I send a text. Hello? Been here for 15 minutes. It's only been 5 minutes, but seeing as my mom got me back to Brooklyn under duress, emotional extortion, the least she could do is answer the door. Also, I'm freezing here on the stoop in my white ribbed tank top and low-rise jeans. Of course, that'll be a whole thing. Where's your jacket? Where are the rest of your clothes? Forget about it when she spots my new eyebrow piercing. I pound on the door, which pops open the second my knuckles meet the wood. Mom? I call, stepping inside the big open space. Living room and dining room to the left, kitchen to the right. You left the door. Something's burning. A saucepan is on the stove, the front burner blazing, and the outside of the pot blackened from the flame. I rushed over to turn it off. Grab a dish towel and toss the pot into the sink and turn on the faucet. A cloud of steam rises as tap water sizzles into the now empty pot. There's an open box of couscous on the counter next to a neat pile of chopped green beans. A half-empty glass of water on the island. Mom! I shout. Popping and hissing noises are coming from the oven. When I open the door, I'm blasted by a wall of heat and gray smoke. The baking pan I yanked out is filled with blackened rocks that I'm guessing used to be chicken. The food is burning! The smoke alarm starts to screech. Shit! I'm about to climb on the stool to shut it off when I hear a loud noise. Thump, thump, thump. It's coming from the direction of my mom's office. Shit! Mom? The thumping stops. I press my body against the wall as I make my way down the hall, but when I poke my head into the office doorway, it's empty. My mom's laptop, I think her work one, is on the floor near the door, which is weird. But otherwise, it's immaculate, as always. The thumping starts up again. I realize it's coming through the wall from the adjacent brownstone, George and Geraldine's house, or just now George since Geraldine died. George was once a famous doctor, a neurosurgeon, but he has Alzheimer's now. My mom tries to keep an eye on him, brings him groceries sometimes, that kind of thing. For sure, George does some weird stuff over in the house all alone. Right now it sounds like he's pounding on the walls. He used to do that sometimes when I was in high school, and he wanted me and my friends to keep it down. The smoke alarm is still going off. That's probably it. I return to the kitchen, jump on the stool to hit the reset button. The alarm finally stops. A second later, so does George's pounding. I look past the kitchen island to the long dining room table. The living room beyond, spotless. What the hell is going on? I whisper. My mom is many aggravating things, but she's not the kind of person to disappear. I spy something under the sofa. Then I jump down from the stool for a closer look. It's one of my mom's standard issue light gray canvas flats. Very plain, very expensive. When I pull it out, I see that the side of the shoe is smeared with a reddish-brown streak, a few fingers wide. Turning back toward the kitchen, I notice the broken glass on the floor, the shards fanned out, glittering in a pool of what looks to be water. There's also another shining circle on the hardwood floor, closer to the end of the island. It's about the size of a dinner plate. The liquid a thicker consistency than what's under the glass. When I head over and crouch down, I can see that it's a similar reddish brown to what's on the shoe. Oh my God, it's blood. I drop the shoe, my hands trembling as I tug my phone out of my back pocket of my jeans. Hey, my dad answers, walking off the plane. And for a split second, I think, oh good, Mom and I won't have to eat alone after all. Like the world hasn't just exploded. I look over at the puddle again. Blood. That's definitely what it is. Dad, I think something's happened to Mom.
Litigation today, March 5th, 2024. Case notes.
A multi-district litigation was certified today against Darden Pharmaceuticals and the Southern District of New York on behalf of all pregnant patients who took the seizure medication Zytec between the date of its first manufacture, October 25, 2021, and the present. The bellwether complaint was brought on behalf of unnamed plaintiff Jane Doe, who alleges that Darden knew of and disregarded risk of pregnant patients and their unborn children. It is further alleged that the adverse impacts of Zytec in pregnant patients include serious bodily damage to newborns and, in some instances, death. The bellwether case seeks $20 million in actual damages and $200 million in punitive damages. Given the number of potential plaintiffs, the result could be one of the costliest pharmaceutical litigations in history. With regard to the lawsuit, Darden General Counsel Philip Belmont said, Zytec is a drug that has saved tens of thousands of lives and has made meaningful living possible for hundreds of thousands more. The data makes clear Zytec is both incredibly safe and enormously effective at eliminating debilitating, life-threatening seizures. We look forward to our day in court to prove that publicly. Zytec sales in the last year alone topped $2 billion. though many of those who take the drug do so for off-label uses. When reached for comment, Plaintiff's Liaison Counsel said, Darden Pharmaceuticals ignored known risks. They prioritize profit over patient safety, and hundreds of infants have paid the price. We expect this case to change the way the pharmaceutical industry does business and the way drugs are fast-tracked by the FDA.
Katrina, the days before.
I opened my eyes to the glare of sun through the wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. It took me a second to remember where I was, who I was with. Not an unfamiliar sensation these days. The first time it happened, I'd panicked, thinking I'd blacked out, had something slipped in my drink. But no, I'd freely chosen to be there, in a strange bed. Not that Doug was a stranger anymore. Half of a dozen dates, 3 nights together, in this brave new world of dating, where I had to Google half the abbreviations. E&M, GGG. I think that counted as married. So far, it had been a steep learning curve, but I was figuring it out. And I knew that I liked Doug, that this could be the beginning of something. I listened to him breathing deeply in bed beside me. That was the first time I stayed until morning. In fact, it was the first time since my separation 4 months ago that I shared the intimacy of a full night's sleep with any man. But that felt weightier than sex. And so here I was, at long last, watching the sun rise with someone other than Aiden next to me. I waited for the guilt to set in, but instead, I was overwhelmed with relief at having made it this far. Doug and I had met at a firm outing, both on that clubhouse porch, avoiding the golf course and reading the same book, Thinking Fast and Slow, which made him appear thoughtful, but I'd worried might make me appear cold and unemotional. One of Aiden's routine complaints, but Doug had seemed only charmed by the coincidence. In fact, he seemed charmed by everything about me. I didn't love that Doug was a senior executive for one of our client companies, a new client, and not one I worked with, but rules were rules, and romantic relationships between employees and clients were strongly discouraged, outright forbidden, without disclosure. But the thought of sharing details of my newly burgeoning sex life with HR was simply too much to bear. So I decided to conveniently forget how we'd met and remember that I was partner. I was allowed to bend rules. It helped that Doug was also violating Darden pharmaceutical policy against fraternizing. Maybe keeping it a secret even made the whole thing a little more exciting for both of us. And we did honor the confidentialities these rules were trying to protect. Neither of us talked about our jobs. I was just so glad to be dating someone I met in real life. Online dating had been mostly a disaster for me. Those dates got high marks if I managed to make it through an entire dinner. I found the whole process utterly alienating. Matching with strangers, the stilted, overly intimate messaging with someone you hadn't even met, the padded profiles that verged on outright lies. It had seemed like a necessary transitional endeavor, though an ugly, awkward wrecking ball to my old life. But Doug, he was a genuine possibility. He was funny and kind and incredibly smart. Like me, had come from nothing and worked ridiculously hard to get where he was. And it turned out we had plenty to talk about besides work. His daughter Ella was about Cleo's age, and Doug, a widower, struggled to connect with her in so many of the ways I did with Cleo. Ella was a singer, Doug a scientist turned business person. A story of opposites, he said somewhat sadly on our first date. I think it would bother me less if I wasn't trying so hard to bridge the gap. Doug was quirky and charming too. He was teaching himself to make fresh pasta from YouTube videos and working his way slowly through the American Film Institute's top 100 movies of all time. It didn't hurt that he was also extremely attractive, with thick salt and pepper hair, bright hazel eyes, and his infectious laugh. Not as gorgeous as Aiden, true, few men were, or as tall, but he wasn't nearly as self centered either. Doug was also a little unexpectedly excellent at sex, gentle in all the important ways and assertive in the right ones. "You're awake?" he asked sleepily, turning over and wrapping an arm around my hip, his face still buried in the pillows. "I'm sorry," I said. "Go back to sleep." Okay, he said, hugging me more tightly. "But only if you do." A second later, his breathing had deepened again. Doug was sweet. That was what I liked about him most. Sweet and kind. Sometimes you didn't realize how much you needed something until it was offered to you. Turned out I was absolutely desperate for someone to be gentle with me. I quietly lifted my phone from the floor. There would be work messages. There was always work messages, even at 9:30 a.m. on a Saturday. But no Cleo. Of course not. She and I hadn't exchanged so much as a text in 3 months. Still, I always felt deflated when I scanned my messages and didn't see her name. I did have 12 messages from my assistant Jules, passing on messages from clients not nearly as pressing as they surely thought. My clients with their kinds of predicaments were so fueled by embarrassment and frantic for a quick fix that niceties like respecting weekends went right out the window. I also had a text from my boss, Mark, asking if I could touch base with Vivian Foxhall. One of my few female clients, Vivian, was the high-profile CEO of YouNow, a new social media platform that was setting the world of college students on fire. YouNow was designed to upend the Instagram obsession with likes and curated content. It was also designed to make money, a lot of money. Vivian had run marketing for Spotify and iTunes and Hulu. She was one of the most successful women in the tech world, in part because she was also a coding savant who had street cred with the engineers. She had an anger management problem as well, which most recently had resulted in her threatening to push a middling senior executive's chair out of the window if he rocked in it one more time while she was talking. In Vivian's defense, he was apparently categorically awful to the women who worked for him. Vivian didn't always have such noble targets for her rage, though. So far, she's just been lucky enough to keep the stories contained. But now, this executive was threatening to go to the media if he wasn't given a C-suite role at YouNow. Impressive chutzpah by any measure. And the timing couldn't be worse, given YouNow's impending billion-dollar IPO. Mark didn't know any of the details, of course. He was the hands-off firm liaison. I was the hands-on fixer. Given Mark's role as managing partner at Blair Stevenson, it made sense for him to have plausible deniability. And I was to keep even the existence of my role confidential. That this was imperative was clear to me, though it was never stated explicitly. Mark no doubt assumed that I'd told Aiden. Spouses were tactically exempt from most rules about confidentiality. But notably, it had never occurred to me to trust Aiden in that way. Not even 10 years ago, when I transitioned into the position, nor had it occurred to me to see the lack of trust as problematic. I was used to secrets. And so we had a system. Mark would give me the name and phone number of what was usually a high-level employee of an existing corporate client. Mark assured the client, generally the employer of the wrongdoer employee, that I would make the problem go away. I didn't circle back to Mark until the mess was officially cleaned up. What happened in between was my business, but Vivian wasn't above calling Mark in the middle of the night to get what she wanted when she wanted. Typical of her to give me only minutes to respond before going over my head. I spoke to Vivian last night. I wrote back to Mark. It's already sorted. Vivian was losing it over a voicemail from a New York Times reporter who was sniffing around. I assured her less than 8 hours ago that there was no way the Times was going to run a story about Vivian without officially reaching out to her for a comment. One voicemail wouldn't be enough. The story would be on hold so long as Vivian didn't answer the phone. Another problem solved, at least temporarily. My job could be satisfying that way, even if it meant regularly wading into some fairly murky waters. Or all these wealthy, entitled people, some of whom had done pretty unsavory stuff, deserving a second chance? Probably not. But then, maybe I wasn't either. Through the vast sparkling windows, the Hudson River glowed. Doug's view was spectacular. The apartment was impressive, loft-like, one bedroom with polished ash floors. But Doug preferred the family home in Bronxville. The pied-a-terre made him feel lonely. Or it had, he said, until I agreed to stay over last night. I slipped out of bed and tiptoed toward the bathroom, resisting the urge to put my clothes on first. My self-confidence in that particular arena was a work in progress. When I came back, Doug was awake, but distracted. He was sitting up, feet on the floor, eyes locked on his phone. Is everything okay? I asked. His eyes remained on his phone as he brought his other hand to the back of his neck and shook his head. I just got the strangest message. Work? I asked as I walked around to the opposite side of the bed and grabbed my bra and shirt from where I'd thrown them the night before. No, he said, looking up at me. We used this college counselor for Ella. I waited for him to finish his thought, but instead he rubbed his forehead. I came back to his side of the bed, tugging on my clothes as I sat down next to him. And you're hearing from him now? Wouldn't that have been like 3 years ago? At least, he said, quickly darkening the screen of his phone when I glanced over at it. Do you want to talk about it? I don't even remember the guy's name. Advantage Consulting was the company? His voice drifted again. Somebody is demanding money to keep quiet about something I did not do. I put my hand on his back. Oh, I'm sorry, that sounds upsetting. Doug nodded. Yes, and also odd. We didn't pay for anything illegal. I mean, the guy hinted at options, sure. We could do more for a price. But we never took him up on it, obviously. He frowned. We didn't fire him either, though. I guess we could have done that, taken our business elsewhere. That probably would have been the more ethical thing to do. The message said they were going to claim you did do something illegal if you didn't pay? Blackmail. Now that was something I knew a thing or two about. I glanced down at his still darkened phone. I wanted him to show me the message so I could see for myself what he was dealing with. You could tell a lot by the way demands were phased. Yes, that they'd reported to the police, and they said they'd tell Ella I bribed her way into Amberhurst, which honestly concerns me a lot more. The police will eventually figure out the truth, but Ella, this will be the perfect excuse for her to be done with me. I know that feeling too. My phone vibrated in my hand, then, call me ASAP. Aiden, great. And I think that's maybe where we should stop. We get a little taste of the daughter All right, so I believe that is where we'll stop for tonight. Tell me how you feel about the characters so far. The daughter, the mother, their relationship seems to be rocky. The litigation case with the pharmaceutical drugs. I can only imagine what else is in store for this story. I can't wait to read more, and yeah, just let me know what you're feeling like in the comments below so we can talk about it. Otherwise, my name is Linda Ostay. Good night. Sleep well. Sweet dreams. Come back another time. Thank you.